Hi everybody, Joe Brancato, the airgun scientist here at the Skunk Works Lab. And today, we're going to go over how easy it is to set up your Carette 2 compressor to fill up either your air gun or your air tank. So let's just dive right into it right now. So before we start anything, let's just get a quick tour of the Carette on all the various parts on it. This is where you put the oil. That's the oil fill cap. This is the air breather, and you can actually change the air filter intake. This is the only compressor, other than scuba dive compressors, that's really made properly. It uses a condensate drain, which is a big tube that just lets the air go into it and just precipitate out, hence the term precipitation tube or condensate. It condenses, and then it goes, after it drops out of suspension, the really heavy water that's in there, then it goes through this cooling tube here. It's a significant amount of cooling tubing to allow it to cool so that you don't keep a lot of hot air in, and then it comes into this molecular sieve filter. And this is a true molecular sieve. This is really well made from a filtration point of view. It's on par with scuba compressors, and of all of the small airgun compressors, this is the only one that I know that actually is made this way, that has a true condensate and a separate molecular sieve filter. These are the heads. It's a 3-stage unit. The motor's at 2 horsepower, 115 volt. This is your precipitation tube drain, and then this is your molecular sieve drain. This is the sight glass for when the oil, as you can see here, has been properly filled. It's right in the middle of that dot. So on this side of the unit, you can see Carette pressure switch, which is digital, the 2 horsepower motor that works on 115 volts AC, and then the cooling fan, which really does give it a nice breeze. And that's this side of the unit. And then if we were to show you that fan a little better, there's the fan. The first thing that you must do when you get your Carette 2 is fill it with oil. Fortunately, it comes with the exact amount of oil that you need. And the first thing you're going to do is you're going to open up the bottle. After you do that, you're going to get yourself one of these really nice multi-purpose funnels. O'Reilly's Automotive, one of those kind of places. So the first thing you're going to do is unscrew this little black box up here. That's the oil filler cap. And then this one's already filled with oil, so we're going to kind of fake it a little bit. But if you look here in the sight window, you'll see it's already filled with oil. And what you would normally do is you'd get your handy-dandy funnel, put that in there, you get your oil, you put the whole thing in. Of course, as you get to the end, I'd make sure I'd watch, don't overfill it, but it should fill it right up to that red, center of the red dot. Once you put all your oil in, pull out your funnel. Don't go crazy tight on this, it just has to be snug. It's got an O-ring right there because you can snap it if you go too tight. And then you just do it, and it's as simple as that. So that's what it takes to fill the oil in the Carette. Now, after about 50 hours, but I would check what the fluid looks like, or the oil looks like, the color of it, in the sight glass periodically. As it's starting to get dark, drain it by removing that sight glass. Put like a plate, a paper plate or something under here so that it drips into an oil pan more cleanly. And Alex, my cameraman, he's saying, well, we think you should also take that bottom screw out so that you don't have to tilt it. So now you know how to fill it with oil, how to drain it with oil, and obviously how to refill it with oil. So that's the oil. That's the most important thing that you need to do. When you first turn on the Carette, this is how it'll appear. You'll see zeros typically, and this is megapascals. Not a lot of people know what a megapascal is, so let's change it to either bar or PSI. First thing you're going to do is hit this button here. You press and hold. There we go. Boom, that's bar. Let's change it again to PSI. Push and hold unit. In about 3 or 4 seconds, it'll change to PSI. Now we're on PSI. I'm going to leave it on there because it'll make our life a little bit easier. Let's take a look through the different settings. So there's 2 settings, a high and a low. The high setting is typically where you're going to fill a large carbon fiber tank, like your Great White, Tiger, Guppy, whatever, your big carbon fiber tank that fills the gun. The low pressure is for the exact pressure that you'd fill a gun to so that you don't overfill it. So let's set the high first. Hit set, you just push it, boom. It's set at 4,500 already. Let's hit it again, low. Now this is where it would fill if you're like, say you're filling a gun at 3,000. Now, how do you set this? Okay, now you see the digit that's blinking? This will push that unit up. So if I push this up once, it goes up to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's just leave it at 5 so you'll see what I did. Now, let's do the tens. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay? Let's bring it up to 3,100. I would do this way, do a 1, and then this way one more time, and go up. And then if I wanted to make it an even 3,100, keep on going, you're back to there, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0, go over a digit, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0. There you are, that's your low pressure set. Hit set again, 1. In this case, this machine has 1 hour on it. That's your timing. That lets you know how often you need to replace your filter media or your oil. And then let's hit set again. So if you want to switch between high and low, all you do is you push, look, see it says high, high. If you want low, low. Simple as that. And then you just push on, which is right here. One of the features we should point out too is the actual hose that fills your air tank or your air gun. And that obviously comes out of the molecular sieve filter. So we're going to fill up a tank. Let's see how easy it is. First thing you'll notice, it has a Foster style connector. Okay, so you just pull this back, you hook it on. If this was an air gun, it'd be the same way, or an air tank. We're just using a guppy. It'll easily fill a great white in no time, but we're using a guppy simply because it's easier to show. So now it's hooked up. One of the key features you always want to make sure whenever you hook up a Foster that it's not like that it's on all the way and fully secured. Okay, that collar's up all the way. You don't see any of the balls or anything like that. It's clicked on there, because if it isn't, it'll pop off and you'll lose your O-ring. So in this case, we have it hooked up to an air tank. In this case, it's a guppy. And we're going to turn it on, see how it works. You push the on button just for a second, and it turns on. Now, it's about as loud as a sewing machine. That's what I would call it. Got a nice breeze coming from here. Shuts right off, but look, right there, right at 4,500. Okay, so before you disconnect your air tank, you need to bleed the units. Now, you're going to get some moisture out of these 2 units. The first unit you're going to want to bleed first is the condensate tube, or the earlier part of the filter, where the heavy laden moisture condenses out or precipitates out. So we're going to open up the valve, and you can see some water with oil came out. I usually give that a good blast until I know no moisture is in there. On this side of the unit is the molecular sieve, and it will have a tiny bit of water possibly in it. So let's take a look. Not much should come out of here. All right. And then just shut the unit off and you're done. So one of the things you're going to want to get into the habit of using is this bleeder down here. And the reason for that is if you're filling your rifle, it does not have a bleeder like the guppy does. So if there's any residual, you know, we drained it with this one. What you want to do is you really want to go and you open this knob and just leave it open and let this molecular sieve filter go down completely. That way you can just unplug the gun. Since it doesn't have a bleeder, you've bled it here completely. And if you're filling a great white guppy or tiger tank, it's the same thing. You can just leave this open. You don't have to open up this bleeder here and it'll work. So that's a good habit, is just to use this bleeder all the time. That's how you disconnect the hoses from either a gun, an air gun, or an air tank. So let's take a look at what comes with the Carette. And the first thing we're going to see that you'll be needing will be this rod. And that's the rod that goes into the cap of the filter so that you can either tighten it or remove it. In addition, it comes with 2 packs of molecular sieve and 1 pack of activated carbon or charcoal. Also comes with these felt pads that you will need to replace inside the filter. The next step is we're going to show to you how to change the filter or the molecular sieve. We have our nifty little handle here, and its function is to break the tightness or the click. It might be tight, okay? And then once it's open or once it's loose, you can either do this or you can just do this. The cap comes up. Always check your O-ring, make sure there's no grooves or anything in it. It should be lightly greased with silicone before you get it. We're going to pull out the filter element. I'm going to use some tools that are quite easier for me to use. One is a small screwdriver, and all I'm going to do is looks like the handle of a bucket. I'm going to flick it up, and then I'm going to capture it with these snap ring pliers. And that's just because that's what I have. I see my bail is right there, and I'm just going to try to get this so that it goes there. And this is actually, there you go. With a fine screwdriver, it's a lot easier. I pull it up. This is the cartridge. This is the handle, the bail, like on a pail, a bucket. You can do this by hand if it's not easy for you to turn. What you can do is one of two things. I would not get a screwdriver and try to do this. You'll probably twist it out. What I would do is, if you have a vise, no, I don't mean smoking and etc. If you have a vise that you could just kind of drop it in, and you don't have to go tight on it, but just make it like a wrench, like an adjustable wrench would work. If you have a large one, you just put the adjustable wrench here to hold it, and it gives you a little bit of leverage. Now you can turn it, it comes right off. That's if you can't undo it by hand. Let's see if this one comes. Yeah, see, this one goes. But it's if you get stuck. And again, I'm going to repeat, do not use like a screwdriver, because I know what you're going to do. You're going to do that, and you're going to twist it right out, and you're going to, right? And then you're going to have to reshape it. Then all you do is you unscrew this unit. See how easy that is? There's a little spring under here, and then there's a, let's take a look at that. See that metal cap? Okay, so there was the spring was in this cap like this, pushing down on this little metal disc here. And then I'm just going to do it like this. Go for the hard way. There you go. Okay, so that 50-cent piece, or whatever you want to call it. Then you have your felt washer. See that? That's your felt washer. That's some of the filter media right there. Inside here, if you get your screwdriver, as you can see, there's some charcoal in there, and that removes oil, flavors, etc. if one was breathing. One cannot breathe with this because this is not a breathing compressor, but the filtration is designed very similar. So what you could do is, on your first change, instead of putting carbon in there, or just leaving it in there, you could put your molecular sieve in there and increase the amount of molecular sieve that you have in the unit. Now that the filter is apart, we can replace the filter media. Now, as for the center of the filter, you could either put activated carbon back in there if you want that sweet tasting air in your gun, or I would put more molecular sieve, just give you more time in between fills. Molecular sieve is very cheap. So you go online, you buy it in quantity, comes like 5-10 pound buckets, and you're not using it. I would change my filter media like every couple of months, just because it's so cheap. We have the cap is back on where the charcoal or the extra molecular sieve went. We're going to start to fill it. Then after you fill it, you want to put this cap on, then this metal disc, like this, so that it pushes it evenly. Then this spring goes in the cap right here, like that. See how there's a little indentation for that? Right here. That goes there. And you just screw that on. And you want to make sure you don't cross-thread it. Get it tight, and that's it. Now, we have the handle. We're just going to drop it straight in, gently, and push it until it clicks. There you go. She's clicked. We're going to put the lid back on, or the cap, as I prefer to call it. It's a very well-made filter, by the way, extremely well-made. I'm very, quite happily impressed with it. And then when we get towards the end, we're going to use the tool that they provided to tighten it all the way. Now, am I turning it? Yeah, I'm turning it. You don't have to go crazy tight with it. Snug's good enough. O-rings do all the work. This isn't a tapered thread where the tighter you make it, the more it seals. It's a straight thread with an O-ring. So all you got to do is just, until you feel metal on metal right here, like I'm not even going tight. It goes, boom, stops, I'm done. Nothing else going to help by me going, arr, okay? Arr. Okay, so I think that's it. Whether it's the breech seal on your Springer, the O-rings in your PCP air gun, or your compressor, one of the things you will need to do all the time is lubricate them. And the best lubrication for O-rings is silicone grease. A tub this size will last you, well, last us a year, and we're always working on guns. We repair guns. Use it on your Foster O-rings. Use it on your anything that's an O-ring. Alex, my cameraman, was just saying he uses it on his brake pistons for the sliding pins because of the high temp. This stuff is just great for everything. It's a good quality silicone grease, and we highly recommend it. It's a good quality product. It's made in USA. You're providing business for an American. Let's all support this guy. Again, Joe Brancato, the Airgun Scientist, saying thank you for watching our videos. Take care, God bless, shoot safely, and remember to like and subscribe to our videos. Cheers.